operate the daycare on the other end of the store itself. You know, and we have been there since 2007. And the only thing that we're trying to do is just combine my sister and my business together. We tried to purchase a lot, but with COVID, of getting the lot on, was it Casita Road or Fort Benning Road, was almost impossible. Nobody would ever call us back. There would be no trafficking as far as putting cars out here in this lot itself. The purpose is just for us to be able to print off titles and licenses, and pay for taxes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's all the hands, Mayor. We will bring that matter back in 2 weeks at the 5:30 meeting for a vote. Thank y'all for being here.
If you'll hold on just a second, sir. I think Councilor Huff wanted to make a comment. Councilor?
Okay.
Bruce, you might want to text Lindsay when you go on a text.
Okay.
Yeah, I just text both of them saying Bruce wants to speak.
Councilor Huff, y'all are online with us. So, Councilor Huff, you had a comment?
Yes, is the petitioner still there?
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, what I wanted to say, if you could get the clerk to give them my number and get their number, so I could give them a call and we could sit down with the petitioner and the resident that was in opposition so we could talk about it between now and next meeting.
Okay. Lindsay, can you get the information from the opponent? All right, we'll do that, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next zoning hearing up is property at 323 16th Street. It's going from light manufacturing to general commercial. That's the request. And general commercial to Uptown. Uptown is the request. Recommended approval by Planning and Planning Advisory. It's a Henson petition. I think Mr. Henson is here. Are there any questions around the table?
None here. Madam Clerk, any online? No, there doesn't appear to be any.
All right. Anybody in the audience want to be heard on this petition at 323 16th Street? Don't see any hands. We'll bring it back, Mr. Henson, in 2 weeks for a vote at 5:30. Thank you for being here. All right, Mayor, this next item has, of course, there's been a lot of discussion and meetings with landlords. This would be an ordinance to establish new requirements for disposing of solid waste removed pursuant to an eviction, establish certain new penalties. We're going to call over Ms. Lisa Goodwin, Deputy City Manager, to run through the history of this and see if there are any questions.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are excited to be able to bring forth this ordinance, one that was full of compromise and with both the landlords that we have worked with as well as the city. And we want to just be able to go through this with you of what is in the ordinance. We've been dealing with this for several months, and we believe that we've come to a point where we think this is going to be best for the entire community, where we will not see what we have seen in the past with all of the trash and the debris thrown throughout the community and blown and picked through. And so this is a good compromise that we think we all can live with. And what's currently in this ordinance on first reading is in Section A. Section A outlines the property, where the property or the debris is to be placed on the property. It will be unlawful to place on the right-of-way, sidewalks, or the streets. All debris removal from the property must be placed on private property. That's the big thing in Section A. Section B literally just waives the landfill tipping fees. We are allowing landlords to be able to, within that 3-day period, to take the eviction material to our landfill. They must, of course, show proof that it is an eviction, and they, of course, have the writ of execution for that and other paperwork that they can take to show that it is from an eviction. And it has to be, of course, from the eviction here in the city of Columbus. Section C of the ordinance outlines that eviction materials must be removed from the premises within 3 business days or be cited by our Codes and Enforcement Division. The contractor can be retained by the city to remove the debris, and the property owner will be invoiced for the cost and the removal of the eviction materials. If the invoice remains unpaid for more than 30 days, a lien and sale of property can take place. That, of course, is nothing new. We do that in other cases where liens are placed on property for failure to pay particular things, or if the city has to go in and do the work. It's not moving.
Councilor Crabb, did you want to ask your question now, or did you?
I have 2 questions. I'll just hang up a couple questions about A and B. If the property is put on, if the debris is put on private property and not picked up during those 3 business days, then how does the city come in and take debris off of private property?
We will actually contract that with a third-party vendor, and they will go in because it's no different than solid waste that is currently on private property. We go in, if the property owner fails to remove it, then we go in and clean it up. We will mitigate that issue.
Okay, so there's not a legal issue for us doing that?
I will.
Is there
Attorneys.
any legal issue for us doing that, taking debris
No.
off of private property?
The code enforcement official will be present also when that happens, so.
So it will be considered a nuisance, and so we can mitigate the problem.
Okay,
Right.
sounds good. And then for the waiver of the tipping fees, you talk about the documents, to provide documents. Most of these documents are provided to the landlord. The landlord has the writs and all this kind of stuff, but the landlord is not the one who's going to be at the dumping site. It will be someone that they hire. So what type of documents could that person have other than, the writ, in order to show that this was an eviction? Could the landlord provide the person that they hired with the case number, or what, and like the case number and the date? Or how would that
I'm going to
documentation
ask
be?
Director Drill Short to answer that.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All we would require is that the landlord give their contractor something in writing with the landlord's signature stating the fact that it is in fact an eviction, giving the dates that the Sheriff's Department gives them the eviction date to and we'll calculate out the 3 days and we'll allow them to dump for free at that point.
Okay, sounds good. Can I just keep my mic on because I might have some more questions?
Okay.
Okay. Section D outlines that if the landlord contacts inspections and codes before the end of the 3rd business day, requesting that the city remove the debris, a $500 prepayment will be secured, and the city will have the contractor to remove the materials. If there is a cost above and beyond the $500, the property owner will receive an invoice with payment payable within the 30 days of the invoice date. You're going to have some properties that are going to just will not take more than $500 to remove it. You're going to have some with larger, piles of debris, and it's going to cost more. And so whatever that cost is, the property or the landlords will be responsible for that. And failure to pay within the 30-day period, again, will result in a citation for violation with penalties of a lien and sale of property if not paid. And Section E just literally says that each violation is punishable with a fine of $500 for the first offense and $1,000 for each subsequent offense. The new process will go into effect at the execution of this ordinance. And I really just want to take the time to thank those who have worked to make this possible, to include the Landlord Committee that was established, and Tom Calhoun was the chair of that committee. The Board of Realtors, and Fred Green is the chair of that board, and all the landlords that attended and provided input into this process. We certainly want to thank each of them. Our municipal court clerk, Reginald Thompson, was a part of this process. Sheriff Greg Countryman and his office, Ryan Pruitt, Inspections and Codes Director, Jarrell Short, the Director of Public Works, Lucy Sheftel, our Assistant City Attorney, certainly provided invaluable information and legal representation for us on this. And of course, Charmaine Crabb, our city councilor, who was just an expert in this area, and we could not have done it without her involvement. And so we thank each and every one of them for what they brought to the table and for getting us to this process. We do feel, again, that this ordinance, of course, was a compromise to making sure that we were able to listen to the landlords, but we also had to take into consideration those residences that live next to these properties that we've had to come in and really, come up with this process for, because we have to listen to the entire community. But I think that because of this, and as a result of this, we will see a community in neighborhoods that are going to be cleaner, because you're not going to have debris or trash that's sitting there days and weeks on end. And so thank you for helping us to get to this point.
Councilor Crabb, any more comments or questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. There are no other questions. Any questions from our councilors that are joining us virtually? Okay.
All right. We will, of course, that'll...
Yeah, we've got, yeah.
All right. Come on up. We've got some folks that want to be heard. Just give them your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Fred Green, and I live at 745 Broadway here in Columbus, Georgia. I am a property manager by trade, have been for over 30 years in this fair city. I come to you as a property manager for Bickerstaff-Parham, but also as property management chair for the Columbus Board of Realtors. Lisa's correct. We had numerous meetings about this, trying to come to some compromise that would work for all of us. We wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and that's why we got involved. For the most part, I think we made some good compromises. I do, however, have some concerns. One, I think, may be shared by some of our others in attendance, but when you evict someone from a property, the whole process is they've not paid you, and you come in and you remove their property from your property. That's why it's always been put on the right of way or on the sidewalk or something. There's been some discussion and contention about, does the tenant have the right for 24 hours to come back and get their stuff? I don't believe that they do. But if that's the thought process on this, if the purpose of the eviction is to remove them from the premises, and then you want to give them the right to come back on the premises to get their personal belongings, that kind of cancels each other out, doesn't it, in my opinion? I do have concern about that. I also have concern about the foreclosure, the lien. I certainly understand the lien. Y'all have been doing this for years, placing liens on property. Forcing it to sell or foreclose, I have a bit of an issue with that as well. City can certainly get their money when the property is sold. Those are my main concerns. But like I said, thank you, Lisa, for all your hard work. And Lucy, you were there too. And also Charmaine was really kept us informed, and I think that was half the battle, quite frankly. And I think the council learned something from us, and I think we learned something from them. So in closing, that's all I have to say. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Crabb.
Thank you. Lucy or City Attorney, can you address those comments that he brought up about the right-of-way and the foreclosure of property? Because it was my understanding that it was really the debris property that could be sold. But are we talking about foreclosing on the actual property?
The only time there'd be a foreclosure would be if the lien was foreclosed on. I mean, this is one instance. The lien could be foreclosed on by the city, but,
Okay, so the language in the ordinance